So today we're going to talk about solving two-step equations. So there's two types. We have a type 1 that looks like this, where we have ax plus b equals c. And when we do that, we're going to add or subtract that b value to both sides. Then we're either going to multiply or divide that a value depending on what it is. The other one we have is this one here, which is x plus a over b equals c. In this case, we're going to multiply first to get rid of that fraction, then subtract. Let's do some examples. So in this case, they're all in terms of this ax plus b equals c. So the first thing we want to do, we're going to take this negative 13 here, and since it's negative, we want to add it to both sides. Whatever I do to one, I got to do to the other. So let's cancel out. This 5q comes down, so we have 5q equals, that's going to give me 50. And then you see how this letter and number are right next to each other? Well, to get rid of that number, because they're next to each other, that means they're currently being multiplied. The opposite of multiplication is division, so we're going to divide by 5 to both sides. And I get q is equal to 10. So let's do this one. The first step is we got to move this 3. Since it's positive, we got to make it a negative 3 underneath. Whatever I do to one side, I got to do the other. So I'm going to have 2x. Those 3's canceled out. Is going to equal 15. And again, we just talked about this when we have that number and letter right next to each other. To get rid of it, we're going to divide by that number. And remember, we talked about yesterday leaving these in terms of fractions if they don't divide. So this doesn't divide, so we're just going to leave it like 15 over 2. Alright, so on this one, on letter C, we want to move this negative 5 first. Since it's negative, we're going to add 5 to both sides. So the 12a is going to come down. So I'm going to get 12a equals 144, because that's what 139 plus 5 is. Back to that same thing, we have this number and letter right next to each other, so to get rid of that number, we're going to divide by the number. And in this case, we're going to get a is equal to 12. So on letter D, we look to see what side our letter is on. Our letter is this P, it's on the left, so we need to get rid of anything that's not a P over there. So we're going to take that 7, we're going to subtract it. And I'm going to get 5p is equal to 45. And then we're going to take this number and letter, and we're going to divide by that number, which is 5. So I'm going to get p is equal to 9. In this case, it's the same thing. It just looks a little bit different on D. We're still going to move that negative 9 first by putting a plus 9 underneath. So I get t over 12 is equal to negative 2. And this time, because it's a fraction, the opposite of fraction would be to multiply by the denominator, which is 12. So in this case, we're going to get t is equal to negative 24. And even with decimals, we do the same thing. So in this case, we're going to take that positive 3 and we're going to subtract it. And we get 0.2n is equal to 5.6. Then we're going to divide by 0.2. We get n is equal to 28. Okay, we're going to do some more examples. So in this case, it's the other way. And remember, we talked about if we have a fraction, the way to get rid of it is by multiplying both sides by the denominator. The denominator in this case is negative 3. When I do that, those negative 3's cancel out. What's left is that numerator, which is right here, of x plus 8. So we're going to do x plus 8 equals, and negative 2 times negative 3 is positive 6. And now we want to move that 8, and since it's plus 8, we want to put a minus 8 underneath. So we bring down our x, we get x is equal to -2. So again, same thing. To get rid of that fraction, we want to multiply both sides by that denominator, which is 5 in this case. So again, what happens? That 5 cancels out, leaving us with just that h minus 3. That's equal to 50. And then we want to move that -3. Since it's negative, we want to put a plus 3 underneath it. And we get, again, that h comes down. We get h equals 53. So we got another example here, and it says writing and solving two-step equations. It says write an equation and solve. So we have to read it from left to right. It says 8 more than. Okay. So 8 more than means that we are going to add. Remember we talked about this word than, that 8 is actually going to go to the back, so that's going to be plus 8. So it's 8 more than 5 times a number. So that's going to be 5x, 5 times the number. The word is in mathematics means equals. And then it just tells us that the ending is going to be -62. And so we're just going to solve. So we're going to take this positive 8 first, and we're going to put a -8 underneath it. So I get 5x is equal to -70. And then remember, we have a number and letter right next to each other, so we're going to divide by 5. And we get x is equal to -14. All right, we got one more example for this set of notes. It says a calling plan charges 10 cents per minute and a monthly fee of $5.99. How many minutes can a customer talk if they want the bill to equal $37.99? So we know their total monthly bill they want to equal $37.99. We know that they pay a set fee of $5.99 per month. And then it says they pay 10 cents per minute there. So 0.10, and per minute is going to be our x because they're asking for how many minutes. So we want to take this 5.99 and subtract it from both sides because it's positive. So I get 0.10x is equal to 32. Then we're going to divide by that 0.10. And you're going to get x is equal to 320 minutes. You should always label your units with word problems. So 320 minutes. Okay?